Title: Our Souls. The true story of Rome's most infamous crime syndicate, the Banda della Magliana. London, June 18, 1982. A quiet morning on the banks of the River Thames. The city stirs. A worker hurries to his job in the financial heart of the City of London. But something catches his eye beneath the Blackfriars Bridge. Hanging from one of the stone arches, a man. His body sways gently in the wind, feet brushing the surface of the water. His hands are tied behind his back. His face is pale, lifeless. It's Roberto Calvi, chairman of Banco Ambrosiano, one of Italy's most powerful banks. In his pockets, bricks. And $14,000 in cash. The British police call it a suicide. But this was no suicide. This was a message. A message written in blood, silence, and fear. And to understand who sent it, and why, we must travel back to the heart of darkness. To Rome. To the shadows. To the rise and fall of the most powerful, most feared, and most mysterious criminal organization in Italian history. The Banda della Magliana. Act I. The Birth of a Crime Empire. Narrator. Rome, 1975. A city of contrasts. The ancient glory of the Colosseum stands just blocks away from crumbling Borgate, the forgotten suburbs where poverty breeds desperation. While the rich dine in elegant piazzas, the poor fight for scraps. And in the silence between the gunfire of political terrorism, the so-called years of lead, a new kind of monster was being born. Not a revolutionary, not a patriot, but a criminal with ambition and a dream to own Rome. They called themselves the Banda della Magliana, named after a working-class neighborhood in southwest Rome. But this was no ordinary street gang. Before them, Roman crime was fragmented. Small-time thugs, local rackets, isolated crews. No structure, no hierarchy. Just chaos. Until him. Narrator. Franco Giuseppucci. Known as Il Libano, the Lebanon. A man of contradictions. A brute with the mind of a strategist. Born in Testaccio in 1947, he grew up in the alleys and bars of Rome's underbelly. He wasn't educated, but he was intelligent, street-smart, charismatic, ruthless. And he had a vision. Rome is like a cake, he would say. Everyone wants a slice. But we're not asking for a slice. We're taking the whole damn thing. And in 1975, at a small bar called Bar Fermi in the Magliana district, it began. Giuseppucci gathered the most dangerous men from Rome's outskirts. Thieves. Extortionists. Hitmen. And he told them, unite. Expand. Dominate. No more petty crimes. No more territorial squabbles. This would be a criminal corporation. A mafia without tradition, built not on bloodlines, but on loyalty, fear, and profit. Their first major score? The kidnapping of Duke Massimiliano Grazioli Lant della Rovere. November 1977. The aristocrat was snatched off the streets of Rome. Held for weeks. Then released. For a ransom of 1.5 billion lire. Over $1 million in today's money. That money wasn't just a payday. It was seed capital. The foundation of a criminal empire. But the real game changer? Heroin. As Italy grappled with political violence, with bombs in train stations and politicians in hiding, the Banda della Magliana saw an opportunity. While the state was distracted, they flooded the streets with cheap, deadly drugs. They didn't just sell it. They controlled it. From the ports to the pushers, every gram passed through their hands. And they didn't stop there. Gambling dens. Protection rackets. Robberies. They took over Rome, one neighborhood at a time. Narrator. They had 3 leaders. 3 men who would become legends of the underworld. First, Il Libano. The heart. The visionary. Charismatic. Brutal. He ruled with a mix of fear and loyalty. One story tells of him shooting a man in the legs for talking back, then offering him a beer while he bled. Now you know when to shut up, he said with a smile. Second, Maurizio Abatino. Il Freddo. The cold one. Born in Trastevere in 1954, he was the opposite of Jusapuksai. Quiet, calculated, emotionless. He didn't scream. He didn't rage. He planned. And when he decided someone had to die, they died. Months of surveillance. Flawless execution. He was the brain of the operation. And later, the most devastating pentito, informant, the Italian justice system would ever see. Third, Enrico de Pedis. Il Dandi. The aristocrat of crime. While the others wore jeans and leather jackets, de Pedis wore tailored suits. He moved through high society like a film star. And he understood something the others didn't. Real power doesn't come from fear alone. It comes from respect. From access. From being inside the rooms where decisions are made. He was the first to reinvest dirty money into legal businesses. Restaurants, real estate, nightclubs. And he was the one who reached the highest. Because de Pedis didn't just want to control the streets. He wanted to control the system. Act 2. The Invisible Empire. Narrator. By the early 1980s, the Banda della Magliana didn't just operate in Rome. Rome operated for them. They divided the city into zones. Each district had a captain. Each captain had soldiers. Every business, from a tiny pizzeria to a luxury hotel, paid protection money. Refuse. First, a broken window. Then, a fire. Then, a body in a ditch. They controlled illegal gambling dens, from elegant villas in the center to basement bunkers in the suburbs. The beauty of gambling, Abatino once said, is that losers keep coming back. Especially when they're desperate. But it was the drug trade that made them rich beyond imagination. They partnered with the Sicilian mafia, the Neapolitan Camorra. They imported tons of heroin. And they sold it at every level, to poor kids in the projects, to wealthy politicians in their villas. Same product, different price, no competition. Because competition disappeared. Narrator. And when rivals stood in their way, they were eliminated. Not in random shootouts, but in executions. Public. Brutal. Designed to send a message. Take Nicolino Celis, a local boss who dared to challenge the Magliana's authority. On September 13, 1980, he was lured to a garage under the pretense of a meeting. 6 bullets to the head. His body left like trash. The message: there is no other power in Rome. Or Franco Niccolini, Francino criminal. Kidnapped. Tortured for hours. Then shot in the head and dumped in a landfill, half-burned. Not just a killing. A demonstration. And soon, they weren't just killing criminals. They were targeting the state itself. Judges. Police. Journalists. Anyone who got too close. They had protection. And not just from bribes. From allies. Act 3. The Vatican Connection. Narrator. Now, we enter the most shocking chapter. One that blurs the line between crime, religion, and conspiracy. Because the Banda della Magliana didn't just infiltrate Rome. They infiltrated the Vatican. Yes, the Holy See. The spiritual heart of Catholicism. And its bank, the IOR, the Institute for the Works of Religion, better known as the Vatican Bank. Its president? Monsignor Paul Marcinkus. A towering American priest. 6 feet 6 inches, broad-shouldered. Nicknamed the Gorilla. Not just for his size, but for his methods. He didn't believe the church should run on prayers alone. You can't govern the church with Hail Marys, he reportedly said. And so, a deal was made. A sacrilegious alliance. The Banda delivered cash, millions, even billions of lire, in grocery bags. No questions asked. They entered through a side door, the supplier's entrance. And in less than an hour, dirty money vanished into the Vatican's vaults. Then, it reappeared, clean. Transferred to offshore accounts. Reinvested in luxury hotels, construction firms, nightclubs. One informant, Antonino Mancini, said, "We walked in with bags of cash. We walked out with clean money. Like magic. Like holy water." Estimates suggest hundreds of billions of lire were laundered this way. The Vatican took a 15 to 20% cut. And no one could touch them. Immune from Italian law. Protected by the sovereignty of the Holy See. But this wasn't just about money. It was about power. And influence. Because the Banda had another connection. To propaganda due. The P2 Lodge. A secret Masonic society led by Licio Gelli. A shadow network of generals, politicians, bankers, and spies. All united by one goal. To stop the Italian Communist Party from gaining power, by any means necessary. And the Banda della Magliana? They were the muscle. The silent enforcers. The ghosts in the machine. Narrator. One address stands out. Via Gradoli, 96. A nondescript apartment in Rome. But according to investigations, it was a hub. Where gangsters met spies. Where priests met killers. Where decisions were made that shaped Italy's fate. And in a chilling twist, this same address was linked to the 1978 kidnapping of Aldo Moro, the Prime Minister of Italy, taken and murdered by the Red Brigades. Was it a coincidence? Or was the Banda involved in one of Italy's darkest political crimes? Maurizio Abatino, Illinois Freddo, once said, "We were just soldiers, but we knew we were playing a game much bigger than us." Act 4. The Kidnapping That Shook the World. Narrator. June 22, 1983. Rome. A warm summer evening. A 15-year-old girl leaves her music school near Piazza Santa Pola. Her name. Emanuela Orlandi. Daughter of a Vatican employee. A citizen of the Holy See. She never came home. Days pass. No trace. Then, a phone call. "We have the girl. Release Mehmet Ali Agca, the man who shot Pope John Paul II, or she dies." But the calls kept coming. Conflicting demands. Fake leads. And a mysterious voice, the American, with a foreign accent. The media went wild. But behind the scenes, investigators began to see a pattern. And a name kept appearing. Enrico De Pitis, il Dandi. In 2008, his former lover, Sabrina Minardi, made a stunning confession. "I saw Emanuela. I helped De Pitis hide her. Then, they killed her." She described the girl being held in an apartment near Piazza San Giovanni di Dio, then moved to a house in Torvianica. Eventually, she said, her body was buried in a concrete mixer in Tormarancia. But the most disturbing detail. De Pitis is buried in the Vatican. In the Basilica of Saint Apollinaire, a privilege usually reserved for cardinals and nobles. Why? Was it a sign of respect? Or a blackmail tactic? Photographer Marco Exetti claimed he was involved. He said the kidnapping was a message to the Vatican, to return money the Banda had invested through Marcinkus. And De Pitis's tomb? A permanent threat. To this day, Emanuela Orlandi has not been found. Witnesses have died. Files have vanished. Truth has been buried under layers of lies. Act V. The Banker Who Knew Too Much. Narrator. Back to London. June 18, 1982. Roberto Calvi, the godfather of the Vatican Bank. His death was staged to look like suicide, but the evidence screamed murder. The rope. Too short for self-hanging. His shoes. Clean, though he'd supposedly walked through a construction site. The bricks in his pockets? A symbol. In Masonic code, bricks represent the builders. Calvi was a member of P2, and he had stolen, or lost, hundreds of millions of dollars tied to the Banda, the Vatican, and the P2. He had to be silenced, and the Banda was hired to do it. De Pitis organized the hit. Calvi was flown to London, and on the orders of Gelli and the Banda, he was hanged, like a warning. Calvi had to pay, Abatino admitted. He stole the Banda's money, and Gelli saw him as a liability. This wasn't just a killing. It was a ritual, a message to anyone who thought they could betray the system. Act 6. The Fall of the Empire. Narrator. By the late 1980s, the empire began to crumble. Power corrupted. The leaders turned on each other. Jusapaksai was killed in 1980. Depidis was assassinated in 1990. Abatino turned informant. The state finally fought back. Courageous judges. Fearless police. Raids. Arrests. Asset seizures. By 1992, the Banda was broken. But here's the terrifying truth. The organization may be gone, but the system remains. The connections between crime, politics, finance, and institutions, they didn't vanish. They evolved. They went underground. And Rome still bears the scars. And the myth. It lives on. In movies. In TV shows. In books. The Banda della Magliana has become romanticized, turned into anti-heroes, modern-day Robin Hoods. But they were not heroes. They were monsters, who exploited a broken system, and made it worse. Narrator. So what is the legacy of the Banda della Magliana? Is it a cautionary tale? A reflection of Rome's soul, beautiful, corrupt, eternal? Or a warning that in every society, when power goes unchecked, evil will rise? This story isn't just about Rome. It's about us. About how easily institutions can be corrupted. About how silence enables violence. About how the line between order and chaos is thinner than we think. The Banda della Magliana is gone. But their shadow remains. In the streets. In the archives. In the unanswered questions. And in the hearts of those still searching for the truth. Because in the end, some secrets are never meant to be found. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of Italy's darkest chapters, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more true crime documentaries. Leave a comment with your thoughts, or suggest the next case we should investigate. This is Our Souls, where history's shadows never fade.